gentlemen, we have with us two very distinguished speakers who would be diving deep into this. We'd like to start by talking about Mr. Surendra Mehta, who is the National Secretary for Indian Bullion and Jewellers Association, and Mr. Bhargava Vaidya of B.N. Vaidya and Associates. Ladies and gentlemen, in person to conduct this session and joining us online is the Additional Director for Financial Intelligence Unit, Financial Intelligence Unit India, Shri Rajarshi Kumar from Delhi. This would be an interactive session with a very short initial presentation, a brief introduction to both our speakers before they take their place on the stage. Mr. Surendra Mehta is the National Secretary of IBJA. He's a qualified chartered accountant and has been spending a substantial part of his time on education and awareness amongst his members on various matters related to taxation and compliance. With over 25 years of experience in guiding a variety of industry, and in the last 10 years, mostly concentrating on the bullion and the jewellery industry in India. What makes Mr. Bhargava Vaidya the next speaker a very, very able person on the subject? Well, let me tell you, a practicing chartered accountant with a passion for bullion and jewelry sector for over 3 decades, the go-to man for any clarification and interpretation, who is always open to sharing his knowledge, wisdom, and experience. Additionally, we are very fortunate to have with us online Mr. Rajarshi Kumar, the Additional Director, FIU. He has recently taken over the charge of in gem and jewelry sector on FIU. Ladies and gentlemen, before I invite Mr. Surendra Mehta onto the stage to open this session, let me once again invite you. Pay attention. Let's keep this very engaging. You have 3 distinguished speakers who know the business and the laws and the modality inside out. Make the most of this masterclass and you will go back home enriched in more ways than one.
Good evening to all of you. You all are well aware that the government and the whole all over the world that we are very much concerned about the money laundering practices. And the gems and jewelry sector, because it being a high value sector, it is prone for money laundering activities. So the concern of the government is that how to curtail this anti-money laundering tendencies and the opportunities which is available in this high value sector. In this regard, the government of India has already issued a notification by the DOR and dated 28 December 2020, wherein it is said that if any gems and jewelry sector dealer is engaged in any cash transaction with a customer equal to or above rupees 10 lakh, carried out in a single operation or in several operations, it appears to be linked. So wherever you feel that the cash transaction of rupees 10 lakh is linked together, you have to report it to the FIU India. In this regard, how to become an RE and how to become a nodal officer and appoint the officers, we have issued a guidance note on 3rd July 2023 and then the clarification on 20th July 2023. Both the guidance note and the clarification is available on the FIU India website. Anybody is interested can go through it. Easy audit on behalf of CBIC has been made the regulator in this regard. I want to use this opportunity to ask your association and the dealers present there that more and more persons should join the FIU network and become a nodal officer, appoint a nodal officer for your organization so that the whatever we want to share with you, it reaches to you. Because as of now, very few people, around 35 dealers have registered. So we request you that more and more people join the FIU network.
When we talk about PMLA, we have to first remember it is a anti-terrorist legislation. The first one is from US. I like to be fast because we also have a presentation from the department. The line which is drawn here is all the laws below it are after what Surendra Bhai has always been teaching all of us, Financial Excise Task Force. So all these laws below give power to US also to freeze money even for things and crimes which might or happen on their shores. Now, FATF, as we were discussing.
I have always been saying that the PMLA has been implemented on gem and jewelry sector because of FATF audit, which is Financial Action Task Force audit, which is scheduled in India, which will be carried out by November. So basically, it is not only for our own industry. There are many other industries which have been covered under PMLA, like real estate industries, professional, chartered accounting, gem and jewelry sector. And if you look at FIU website, you will find there are a lot of other sectors which are not commonly known to us, but they are all covered under PMLA.
See, there are basically 40 recommendations, and they can be classified in 7 major heads. What is new now is, or for this particular act, is a big international cooperation in it, and a lot of importance is given to transparency on beneficial ownership of any legal owner and KYC of the person. As we were saying, that when did we all get into this? As Surendra bhai said, after 2012 recommendation, casinos, real estate agents, dealers in precious metals and stones, and all the lawyers, chartered accountants and trusteeship companies, both of us in our profession also, got covered. And even if you, as Surendra said just now, even if you want to just check in India, if you go to Dropbox menu, there are how many items?
Must be more than 300 to 400 institutions which are required to be registered under FIU. So our industry is not alone.
We are not alone, but for once we are into some monitor. Now, when we look at this membership, there are a lot of global networks also. The global networks are perhaps for some regional requirement. We are member of 2. One is the Asia Pacific group, and another is the Eurasia group. That is what I was saying. And as Surendra bhai said, our possible period of audit is November 2023. So tab tak to काफी bowling होएगी.
तकलीफ होगी सबको.
Compliance करना पड़ेगा काफी.
Yes.
Now let me take you to what is happening in other members of our Asia Pacific group. Always in all this compliance, leader for a long time has been Singapore. And Singapore has included in what is defined as a money laundering crime any violation of any crime which is defined by any other country also. Other things are similar, but this is one law which gives recognition to extrajudicial thing also. Now, in Singapore, who has to register? If you see this list, almost everybody under the trade has to register. Here, we are complaining, मैं cash में deal नहीं करता, मैं नहीं ये करता, तो मैं क्यों register करूँ? But as we all say in all our seminars, Surendra bhai has been saying, and as the regulator was saying just now, let us all be a part of this team to make this industry compliant. Hong Kong, another member of our group, has passed this resolution only in December 22. And it is applicable from 1st of April. And there all the members of the trade have to register. They have classified into 2 categories. Above 1,20,000 Hong Kong dollar, who don't deal in, those who deal below $1,20,000 are exempt, but in A, who don't deal in cash, and in B, who deal in cash. But an exhaustive register also will be declared by the regulator that all of those who can deal in gem and jewelry trade are included here. Now, I am bringing to you a slide for a country which is supposed to be in grey list. It's working very hard to remove itself from grey list, and they also have been very, very strict in registering, and all of us who have been in UAE are aware that there is a reporting requirement for all overseas wires and all cash transactions above 55,000 aid. And if you know that KYC has become a necessity almost for everybody across the board. Now, this is as per FATF site. Surendra bhai will find errors in it because it said CBEC. He says, नहीं ये CBC हो ही नहीं सकता, ये CBIC है.
But लेकिन site पे CBEC
Site पे CBAC है. So this is how we have defined the regulators under it. The reporting entities are different, where there are 26, which includes GST, SEBI, everybody. But this is how till now, nothing is mine or Surendra's own statement. Everything is what is officially stated on the site. In India, we are in certain ways, in certain disciplinary action, much before similar to US also.
So we have been covered since 1967 under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Then came in 2002 Prevention of Money Laundering. Then Weapon of Mass Destruction and their delivery system. That was 2005 Act. Then United Nations Security Council's resolutions, instruction by RBI. So all this has led to which we call money laundering. But actually, it is not only a money laundering. There are 3 acts which basically all the CBIC circular talks about. That is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, and Weapon of Mass Destruction. Because money laundering talks only about money, only about transaction, but Weapon of Mass Destruction and Unlawful Activities also talks about suspicious transactions.
See, some of the OECD guidelines we might not have been following, but all UN resolutions we always follow. Now, for us, we have been included in PMLA, and the rules have been notified from 2005, so we all know what it is. The direct liability is from 2020.
2020 December. Thereafter, the first guidelines were issued on 4th May 2023 and the last guidelines were issued on 3rd July 2023.
Now, I would like to read, this is also not something which anybody of us have written. I am going to the official paragraph from the guidance report. What does it say? Establish a mechanism between dealers and FIU for information and sharing and reporting to prevent the misuse of sector for money laundering, terrorism, and proliferation financing. So it is something where, as Surendra bhai used to say, that we are made the policemen. I like to say, at least we are made the class monitor. That you are also to be a monitor in the society, that our sector is not used for money laundering. Let's take it in this spirit, that we are monitors of the society and we will be a part of it and we'll go ahead. And
so basically what government is trying to say, that the jewelers are not involved in money laundering, but this sector is being used in money laundering. Please understand, there is a lot of difference between two. They are not blaming gem and jewelry sector, but they are saying this sector is being used by the others, by the probably a terrorist group or some other group for using money laundering.
Because of the size, it can be used, except if we are very, very careful. So
absolutely.
That means it has put some responsibilities on us. The most important being
KYC. We should have proper internal procedures, due diligence, proper internal procedure, controls, training of staff and other stakeholder. We should have a risk-based assessment and reporting of all suspicious transaction. Now, what is suspicious transaction? वो किसी ज़माने में अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने कहा था, हमारे अंतरात्मा की जो आवाज़ कहती है कि ये गलत ट्रांजैक्शन है, वही गलत ट्रांजैक्शन है. So that is suspicious transaction. A person may be coming and asking you probably 10 kg gold. It may not be a suspicious transaction. But a person coming and asking you 1 kg gold can be a suspicious transaction. So it is a suspicious transaction. What according to a jeweler, what according to you as a jeweler, as a monitor, is a suspicious transaction.
You are not punishing the opposite guy by reporting the suspicious transaction, but we are perhaps taking our action that we will save. You know, it's like in a school class monitor. It tells the teacher. Then the teacher decides whether the person is guilty or not. But the duty is put on. Sometimes we may say at the naughty boy of the class, sometimes we may say one of the best boys of the class. Let's say we are among the better boys of the class. Now, we were trying to say, what are the red flags which this industry should take care about? When customer behaves suspiciously or inconsistently. You can add something on it?
Customer seeks to make purchase in foreign currency or card. Many a times a customer comes at the retail showroom and he wants to pay by foreign currency. Sometimes he makes or attempts to break down the purchase. Like he will say, मैं आज 2 लाख का खरीदूंगा, कल फिर से 2 लाख का खरीदूंगा, 4 दिन बाद फिर 5 लाख का खरीदूंगा. That is definitely a suspicious transaction.
वो नहीं तो कह सकता है कि मेरा लिमिट इतने का ही है, तो ये मेरे दोस्त के अकाउंट से आ रहा है. This is one of the examples which you have highlighted.
I tell you very recently, इस गाइडलाइन में लिखा हुआ है कि 10 लाख रुपए तक के ट्रांजैक्शन, कैश ट्रांजैक्शंस इन अ मंथ is permitted and is not required to be reported. So somebody called me and said, सर मैं हर महीने 9 लाख का ट्रांजैक्शन किसी एक आदमी से करूंगा. I said then it becomes 100% a suspicious transaction. Though it is not required to be reported, but then it is required to be reported as a suspicious transaction. Because you are playing with the act. आप जो notification है उसके साथ खेल रहे हो, just by bringing down the 10 lakh number to 9 lakh number in a month and then using that 9 lakhs rupees every month, month on and on and on. So it becomes definitely a suspicious transaction.
Fake currency notes, definitely. Or any spike in any gold purchase scheme. अभी इतने सारे gold purchase scheme है, digital gold या बहुत सारी installment purchase हुए, एक unexplainable movement आई तो वो suspicious transaction हो गया. Means ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि एक कंपनी के 50 एम्प्लॉय एक दिन जाके एक अमाउंट का गोल्ड एक जगह से लेते हैं. That means ये कुछ सस्पिशन भी हो सकता है.
So these are some of the red flag indicators. Gold purchase scheme account receiving cash payment aggregating to rupees 10 lakhs or above in a single or several operations. Gold purchase scheme account receiving individual cash payment from different location. Accounts maintained for gold purchase schemes receiving individual payment through foreign remittances and customer match with sanction list which are being regularly circulated by the FIUs.
Because ये जो लिस्ट है उसमें मैं एक खाली शेयर करता हूँ कि एक रेगुलेटर जो यूएई बेस्ड है, उन्होंने एक पार्टी का इंस्पेक्शन किया था कि आपने केवाईसी कब किया. जो पर्टिकुलर ज्वेलर था, आई न्यू हिम वेल, और उसने सभी का जब भी नोटिस है बाद में परफेक्ट लिस्ट करके दी. ही वॉज पुल्ड अप फॉर वन रीज़न कि आपने ये वेबसाइट पहले तो कभी विजिट की नहीं है, अभी तो बहुत ईजी है चेक करना कि किए नहीं है. आपने किसी और को काम दिया था, उसने बड़े स्टाइल में बोल दिया नहीं, मीन्स आपके ऑफिस से हुई है, तो आपने यूएन की वेबसाइट विजिट ही नहीं की है, तो आप कैसे बोल सकते हो कि ये आपने पहले चेक किया था. तो हम तो अभी कहते हैं, जैसे सुरेंद्र भाई ने एक सर्कुलेट भी किया है अभी कि कैसे रजिस्टर करके कर सके, कि आप स्क्रीनशॉट भी रखिए उस दिन का जब भी आपने वेबसाइट विजिट करी, सो दैट यू आर इन अ बेटर पोजिशन टू आंसर.
Correct.
नाउ देयर इज ओनली वन para with both of us like to say, and then we'll start talking. Either we'll talk among each other or we'll like to talk with the audience. Okay, let's create this a healthy, compliant marketplace and save our sector from any misuse for money laundering.
Terrorist financing and proliferation financing. Well, thank you. Are we able to get through him? Yeah. Please.
Yeah, then give
please.
that present.
Yeah, please.
What is a money laundering? As per Indian definition, to convert money laundering, black money or illegally earned money into legitimate money when it is used or integrated with the financial system. And as per a report of United Nations Office, almost worldwide of global GDP, 3.6% of money is of criminal proceeds, out of which 2.7% money is laundered every year. To proceeds of criminal processing of criminal proceeds into legitimate funds of asset to disguise their illegal origin. Actually, in the process of money laundering, it is a complex process where a money earned from the illegal activity or criminal activity through a complicated mechanism. It's integrated with the financial system to disguise or to hide the origin, from where it came, to layer this, to layer the source of origin. So there are three important stages. First is placement, second is layering, third one is integration. Placement is the first stage of money laundering, where illegally earned money or illicit money is placed into the financial system. Here, the money launderer placed the illegally earned money placed into the banking system or in the other investment product. It may be in the form of gold also. After that, through a complex chain of transaction, they are rotating these funds with one person to another to one third person, and there is a wave of transaction to disguise the original source from where it came. So this process is called layering. The first transaction where it was placed into the financial system, it was layered by a complex chain of transactions. And after some time, that transaction is integrated, that fund is integrated into the financial system, so that you cannot identify whether it is illicit money or clean money. This third stage is called integration, where illicit money is completely integrated with the genuine money or clean money, but it integrated with the economy of country. So these are the three stages: placement, layering, and integration. In the 2001, under Financial Action Task Force is an international body who is issuing guidance on the prevention of money laundering. FIU India is representing Financial Action Task Force. From India, FIU India is the nodal agency who is representing the FATF. Under FATF, 40 recommendations were given with 9 special recommendations. Recommendation 29 says that their FIU serve as a national center for the receipt and analysis of suspicious transaction report and other mandated information which is relevant to the money laundering, which is associated with predicate offences and terrorist financing, and for the dissemination of the result of the analysis. That means from the reporting entities who are possessing these information, those entities will report financial transaction, mandated financial transaction like cash transaction report or NTR report, cross-word or wire transfer report. These reports, they will, along with the suspicious transaction report, at a defined periodicity, they will report it to FIU India. FIU India will analyze those reports, and if required, it will be disseminated to the legal enforcement agency for further necessary investigation and action. Under PMLA Act, there are two obligations. One is the AML, anti-money laundering, and other CFT. Because a lot of illegal money, somehow the illicit money earned through the money laundering is used in the unlawful activity or financing of terrorism. So these are the two major obligations under the PMLA Act. And FIU India is a bridge between or coordinating between reporting entity and LEA, law enforcement agencies. Reporting entity report the several reports, submit the several reports. We as FIU India analyze those reports, make linkages with database we are having or other database which we are accessing, and after analyzing and establishing some linkages, we forward it to the law enforcement agency for further actions. Terror financing. So under terror financing, providing financial support to terrorist or terrorist organization, or intended purpose is where the intended purpose of fund is disguised. Source of fund is also unaccounted. Maybe sometimes it's crowdfunding also. And for terrorist financing, the volume of the amount is very low. It's not a big size of ticket, a big size of amount. It's a small amounts coming from the various sources. That's why it is very difficult to detect and prevent. And now the people are using the latest technology even through wallet, money changer, or through other mode they are sending money. In India, the PMLA Act 2002 was formed and it was effective from 1st July 2005 and with intention to prevent money laundering and to provide for confiscation of property derived from or involved in money laundering and for the matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. The objective of the Money Laundering Act is to prevent money laundering, to combat or prevent channelizing of money into illegal activities and economic crimes, to provide for the confiscation of property derived from or involved used in money laundering, to provide for matters connected and incidental to acts of money laundering. Under Money Laundering Act, from the various acts or IPC, some offences had been from the scheduled offences, which is called predicate offence also. Under predicate offence or scheduled offences, there are three parts: Part A, Part B, and Part C. Part A is the schedule under PMLA Act, where 156 offences under 28 Criminal Act. It comes from IPC. Part B of schedule has offence under Section 132 of Custom Act 1962, where false declaration, false document, and Part C of schedule covered offence of cross-border implications and converted in. Under PMLA Act, there are two authorities. One is the Enforcement Directorate, which is having power or entrusted the work of investigation and proceeding for the under PMLA. And another is the Financial Intelligence Unit, whose job is to receive the information from the reporting entity, analyze them, and disseminate it to the law enforcement agency for further action. Under PMLA, it's a offense. There are punishable offense. PMLA Act is a punishable offense, and maximum imprisonment is up to 7 years. Minimum 3 years and up to 7 years, and 10 years for the offense under NDPS Act also. And provision of fine is also without any limit. FIU India was established on the Government of India on 18th November 2004. Decided to establish FIU India to implement PMLA Act. It's notified as a national agency responsible for receiving, processing, analyzing, and disseminating information. This is an independent body who report directly to EIC, headed by Finance Minister. The function of FIU India, just I said, first is the collection of information. FIU India collect information from the different reporting entities. These reports are cash transaction reports, cross-border wire transfer reports, or suspicious transaction report. These kind of reports we are receiving on a defined periodicity. After that, after receipt of these information, we analyze the information and then we share it with the legal enforcement agency or regulators for action. Also, whatever information shared with FIU India, we act as a repository of those information. We are having a huge mammoth database which are having financial records since last 17 years. We coordinate between several agency, regulator, and financial institution to prevent the money laundering. And who are the reporting entities? Basically, our source, mainly the financial institutions, are the source for the information. Mainly banking institution, maybe public sector, private sector, cooperative, regional banks, foreign banks, even wallets and payment banks also. Then other financial institutions also, like insurance company, mutual fund, NBFCs, chit fund companies, payment system operators, or IT-based money transfer. These kind of institutions are also our reporting entities. Then intermediaries, stock brokers, who is acting between financial institutions and investor or individuals, like a stockbroker, stock exchange, mutual fund houses, asset management companies. These are also our reporting entities. And another category is DNFBP. These are designated non-financial business and professionals. Time to time, Government of India notified which agency will fall under DNFBP. On 28 December 2020, Government of India has decided, issued a notification where dealer in precious metal and precious stone who is engaged in a transaction having cash transaction equivalent to 10 lakh and more has been designated as a non-financial business and professional. If any dealer is involved in or engaged in such transaction, they have to become those entity or dealer has mandatory to become a reporting entity under PMLA Act. Every reporting entity is having some obligation for compliances. They have to designate one principal officer, one designated director, and they have to submit some reports to the FIU. But until and unless any dealer is not engaged in such kind of transaction, they did not to registered as a reporting entity. These are the under section 12A of the PMLA Act. What is the obligation of a reporting entity? Reporting entity has to maintain record of all transactions, including information related to transaction covered under clause B, in such a manner as to enable it to reconstruct individual transactions. These information furnished to the director within such time as may be prescribed under PMLA. Then maintain record of documents evidencing identity of its client and beneficial owner, as well as account files and business correspondence relating to its client. Every information maintained, furnished or verified, save as otherwise provided under any law of the time being in force, shall be kept confidential. The records referred, these are there are other obligations also, which need not to describe here. These are the various reports which are mandated under PMLA Act, and every reporting entity has to submit these reports on a certain periodicity. Here, cash transaction report is CTR or cash transaction report every month for the transaction having value 10 lakh and above, either in a single transaction or in multiple transactions which are integrally related. They have to report under CTR category. And for STR, amount is not mandated, but any transaction, whether it happened or it is attempted. Maybe transaction not taken place. Transaction has not taken place, but it was attempted. That may also fall under suspicious transaction report. So that has also to be reported to FIU India as a suspicious transaction. These are the agencies where we are disseminating our information. Suspicious transactions are disseminated to the agency, which are all those agencies are notified under section 66 of PMLA Act, and every agency has to appoint a nodal officer for receiving those suspicious transaction or report. Processing of a STR or information from bank to FIU India and FIU India to nodal agency or a law enforcement agency for investigation. Reports come from reporting entity to FIU India. FIU India analyze it and further share it with the enforcement agency. And another process is where enforcement agencies law enforcement agencies are already working on some case. They request us for information, financial information or other information. If we are investigating some cases, we are having these identifiers. Please give any information related to these identifiers. On the basis of those identifiers and data repository which we are having, we extract the data, analyze them, and give it to reporting law enforcement agency for access. These are the complete structure. How one side there is a reporting entities, and another side is a enforcement agency or regulator or foreign FIUs also, and we are the linkages between both the segments, both the layers. Obtaining reports, one side analyze it and pass it to LEAs also. Or LEA is also asking information from us based upon their investigation or information which they are handling. So under this is the PPT, which is a general kind of thing, but for the this all are not relevant to the precious the gems and jewelry segment. But recently on 3rd July 2023, FI India issued some guidance for enrollment of as reporting entity for dealer in precious metal and precious stones. Only the dealers who are engaged in the activity, engaged with the cash transaction of 10 lakh and above, has to be enrolled as a reporting entity. But to educate the dealers and to make aware them about the PMLA Act and what is going under PMLA in the area of PMLA, FIU India has decided to enroll gems and jewelry segment as not as a reporting entity but as a nodal officer, where dealer can appoint a nodal officer to receive the information disseminated from FIU India. Such time to time, FIU India is disseminating information, passing information to its reporting entity. So, until and unless a dealer is not categorized or registered as a reporting entity, he cannot receive such information. So, to mitigate that issue, FIU India has decided to enroll dealer as a nodal officer or primary user to get those information. For that, guidance has been issued on 3rd July, this year 3rd July, and subsequent clarification on 20th July. So in that, the dealer who are having turnover more than 500 crore during the last financial year has to register separately. And for the dealers who are having transaction less than 500 crore, they may register separately, but on behalf of them, association can also nominate a nodal officer to get information from the FI India and pass it to their members also. So when any dealer or any authorized person of body of association is going to enroll with FI India as a nodal officer, they have under entity type they have to select either body of association or dealer in precious metal or precious stone, not as a jeweler. When they will select as a jeweler, they will become a reporting entity. Then all the obligation under PMLA Act will apply to them. Until unless they are not intended to register them as reporting entity, they have not to select entity type as jewelers. Okay, thank you.
So basically, this was all about PMLA. The law is very clear. Any transaction up to rupees 10 lakhs in a month, cash transaction up to rupees 10 lakhs, either a single transaction or the transaction in a maybe in a series of a transaction are to be reported to FIU. All suspicious transaction also required to be reported. All dealers having turnover above rupees 500 crore need to appoint a nodal officer from their own office and have to register themselves. All dealers having turnover less than 500 crore must look at their association. Their association must appoint a nodal officer for their members. So those dealers who are not registered with any association and have a turnover less than 500 crore rupees needs to first register with at least one association who is appointing a nodal officer. So if I think if any question is there, then we can take up the question.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rajesh from Hyderabad. Sir, as you explained very good about the Money Laundering Act. One side, we want to control the money laundering. Other side, Reserve Bank of India, in my personal experience, for import of gold, including jewelry, they are not allowing advance payment from India. Even, as you know that, the Master Direction for Import of Goods and Services notified under Section 5 and 10 and 11 of Foreign Management Act, under that they are not notified about the advance payment. but all of the 81 banks not allowing advance payment. So how you can justify both the things, money laundering and the advance payment? Please explain.
Right.
Are any trade associations or bodies represented to the RBI or any other task force agencies? We know very well that 20 tons of gold import under bill to ship to because of advance payment is not allowed. So how you justify money laundering and the advance payment? Please explain.
If you go look at capital account convertibility, in that, there is some restriction, like for import of money or import of currencies, you cannot make advance payment and all in that. So in the same line, for gold, they have done it. Even for diamonds, we had a lot of special permission. So somewhere in the international system, SWIFT, it's 888 or 444, is considered a foreign currency only. And since we are restricted on capital account convertibility, this restriction is justifiable. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, in the entire discussion, we were trying to say that any cash transaction about 10 lakhs needs to be notified. And companies having transaction more than 50 crores needs to get aligned with your agencies. Now, what are we doing to identify the smaller jewelers who are accepting higher cashes to bring them under the regulation and trap them and avoid any kind of an anti-money laundering?
No, see what government has done. There are about 3-4 lakh jewelers. It will be very difficult for any regulatory agency or any investigating agency to get registration of all the 3 lakh, 4 lakh jeweler. So they have identified turnover above 500 crore rupees. The jeweler or a dealer of precious metal himself have to register. Below 500 crore, the association has to register. So that if any dealer of precious metal is having turnover less than 500 crore rupees, he needs to get himself affiliated to some association who will appoint a nodal officer for him.
Yeah. My question is, how are we ensuring this? At the hallmarking level?
Sir, ensuring तो खुद वो register कर लेगा तो भी नहीं होगा और किसी association के through आएगा तो भी नहीं होगा. See, the entire act of PMLA is basically, as Bhargava said, it is to monitor. So you yourself have to monitor. There is neither they are going to ensure. They will ensure if they catch somebody and somebody takes your name, then you are in trouble. It is so simple. Because what happens in case of enforcement directorate raid or in case of DRI things and all, what happens? Third person is caught and he named somebody, some jeweler, and that jeweler is in trouble. So same thing is going to happen here. That is what is my understanding. The reporting has to be your own willingness, your own conscience. If your conscience says this is not a suspicious transaction, it is not a suspicious transaction. But if your conscience says no, it is a suspicious transaction, then as a monitor, you need to either report directly to FIU or you need to report to an association nodal officer who in turn will report this to the FIU. So ensuring तो possible ही नहीं है. Ensuring तो ये जो इतनी एजेंसियां बताई थी सर ने वो भी possible है क्या? अगर वो ensuring होता तो इतने scams कभी होते ही नहीं.
और कोई भी आदमी डायरेक्ट तो कंप्लेन करने जाएगा नहीं, तो एक एसोसिएशन की भूमिका ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाती है कि भाई मेरे पास कोई आदमी आया था कि मुझे कैश में खरीदना है और मैंने बोल दिया मैं नहीं बेचता, तो वो कहीं और तो गया होगा. सो दैट इज अ सस्पिशन आई मे शेयर विद द एसोसिएशन एंड दे विल कोऑर्डिनेट.
Do we have a list of the reportings has been done so far into the associations in a public website so that people...
Sir, this has recently come. About 15 days back, they have allowed an association to register. So everybody is still in the process. As such, till now, no association has done any kind of reporting to FIUs.
And there is a specific restriction that I cannot say that he cannot say that मेरे को भार्गव पे doubt था.
Correct.
Because I have gone to Satish Bhai and said something. Satish Bhai has reported to IBJA. he cannot report straight away or in a public domain that Bhargava will come to know that his name is reported. So there are guidelines which even a training will be given to nodal officers. I think we are taking too much of time. Surendra will.
And I
meet
think
everybody.
I think FIU has also stated that they will give a training to all the associations nodal officer. Sir, basically आप एक बात समझिए, आज इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में 2 लाख रुपए की कैश की लिमिट है. 2 लाख रुपए में 30 ग्राम ही सोना बिक सकता है. और मुझे नहीं लगता 30 ग्राम का कोई सेट आता होगा हिंदुस्तान में. आता होगा, लेकिन कितने आते होंगे आप सभी जानते हैं. सो बेसिकली आपको आपके इनर कॉन्शियस से ही डिसाइड करना होगा कि आप जो कर रहे हैं वो सही है या नहीं सही है. बिकॉज लेट मी टेल यू माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन, इफ द ज्वेलर्स डू नॉट फॉल इन लाइन with what FIU wants or what governments want, then we will be heading for a more stricter norms as far as cash sales is concerned in this country, specifically for jewelers. Because till now, as per my understanding, hardly any jewelers have got themselves registered. Hardly. No, an association तो 3-4 association छोड़ के nobody has registered also.
क्या ये ट्रांजैक्शन कैश ट्रांजैक्शन का ही 500 करोड़ से ऊपर का टर्नओवर की बात हो रही है?
नहीं नहीं नहीं, टोटल ट्रांजैक्शन 500 करोड़,
चाहे वो
कैश चेक दोनों हुए. वो लिमिट नोडल ऑफिसर की लिमिट सेट करने के लिए ट्रांजैक्शन ऑफ 500 करोड़ इन प्रीवियस फाइनेंशियल ईयर, दैट इज 22-23 वैसे कहा है.
ओके.
All right, sir, we'd like to close this session here, but let me give you the good news. So both our distinguished speakers are going to be with us here throughout the day. Feel free to catch hold of them. That is precisely the reason they've been invited here on the stage as well. With this, as we conclude this session, it was very interesting, very enlightening. Can we please give them the hugest round of applause, including our very special guest who joined us online. A big thank you to Mr. Rajarshi Kumar and his team as well.